Oh, what are you doing?
OBJ in the building, baby. We're back. We're back. He is signed. 1-year deal with the LA Rams. OBJ is back, Jay. What's going down, good people?
Okay.
Jay, what? I'm
excited.
excited.
For the people who are listening to the podcast, Ray did it again. He cursed the Rams. He put on the helmet. He's wearing the Odell Beckham throwback LSU jersey, number 3. OBJ signed to the Rams yesterday, or it was reported he signed to the Rams. Ray, what are you doing, man? Good morning to the people. Why do you have the helmet on? You're just cursing the Rams, man. You know it's the helmet curse is real. It's 0-2. Why are you doing that?
I'm excited. OBJ has found a home. You know I'm a big Odell Beckham Jr. fan. You didn't like the helmet?
I like the helmet, but every time you put on that helmet, the team. Thank God the Rams are not playing this week, because if they were, oh man, they'd be losing. They could lose to anybody. They could lose to the Houston Texans, but
they could lose to the Miami Dolphins. They could lose to the
Denver Broncos.
Dolphins.
Could be anybody.
Oh man. All right. I took the helmet off. I put the helmet back. No more helmet. Good morning. It is Friday, November 12th, 2021. This is Wake Up with Ray G, presented by Bets TV. I've already gotten 3 text messages saying, WTF are you doing? Take the helmet off. People are very, very nervous about the helmet curse over here with the Wake Up Show. But we got a lot to talk about. Last night was we apologize. We apologize because we would take the over, cover, Lamar, Hollywood, Devonta Freeman, everybody. And the Miami Dolphins behind the arm and legs of not just one quarterback, but 2. Tua and Jacoby Brissett took down the Baltimore Ravens. As you see, the Odell Beckham Jr. jersey, OBJ has found a new home. Cam Newton has returned home. Ben Simmons still doesn't want to play basketball for the Philadelphia 76ers. So we will get all into that after we jump into the morning run.
Wake up! This is the morning run.
Run, Forrest, run!
All right, Jay, where do you want to start, man? Because last night was brutal. Last night was a brutal display of football. I don't know. The Ravens were drunk. The Miami Dolphins didn't look good either, but they did enough to win the game. Just give me something, man. I'm not going to lie. I was back and forth between Pitt, North Carolina. That game went to overtime. Much better game than the Thursday night football game. There's a lot to talk about in this one, man. Tua doesn't start the game, right? Tua doesn't start the game because of a middle finger injury. Jacoby Brissett starts, and in Jacoby Brissett fashion, he looked horrible. Then he gets hit. Looks like his career was over. I mean, full Paul Pierce, full on the ground, flail. I mean, the cameras caught him screaming. I was like, oh my God, like what happened? Then 6 minutes later, he's on the sidelines running around. He's ready to go back in. Brian Flores yelling at Tua, you're going in. Tua comes in. He gets his damn hand hit like on the second throw. But he looked good. So my theory, Jay, I'm putting on the tinfoil hat now.
All right, let's go.
Tua was healthy enough to play. If you're healthy enough to enter the game at some point in emergency situations, he was healthy enough to play. They benched Tua, bro. I don't care what they say. Somebody said don't play him. Because clearly he was healthy enough to get in the game. Somebody said don't play him. Who that came from, whether that was ownership, whether that was Brian Flores, somebody said you're not going to start. We're going to roll with Jacoby today. Don't worry about it. I cannot remember in recent memory a quarterback being as mistreated as Tua is, for better or worse. And what I tweeted out is I don't know if Tua is the guy. I don't know if he's the answer in Miami. I really don't. I don't know. But what I do know is he and Brian Flores are not a good fit. They are not a good fit for one another. Even when Brian Flores had an opportunity to say Tua is our guy, we are not trading him, he's our guy, he failed to do that. And the response that he used was, I'm just focused on this. We don't get into that. I don't dive into speculation and rumor. But when Xavier Howard was the center of trade topics a year ago, he came out in the press conference and said, we are not trading Xavier Howard. He's our cornerback. He's not going anywhere. All the speculation and rumors, Brian Flores had no issue backing his cornerback. But his quarterback, he failed to do that. Every opportunity, he would not put faith and confidence behind Tua. I think he was benched. And everyone's like, well, he played well the past 2 weeks. I think if he was well enough to go in, and all types of smart people inside like the NFL circle and world were saying they never understood how a quarterback's healthy enough to play, but then you don't start him. If he's healthy enough to play, he plays, especially he's your first round pick. There were a lot of top NFL minds who said it just seemed fishy to them. Miami got the victory. I just want your thoughts on the entire situation. The game was absolute shit. The game was terrible. Lamar looked bad. The Ravens looked bad until the final 2 minutes of the game when Rashad Bateman actually started catching passes. You like the fact that Hollywood Brown had a ton of targets, but he couldn't convert any of it. They just looked bad. But just this thing around Tua, man, it doesn't seem like it's going away anytime soon. And then on top of that, the report from Jay Glazer that Miami was willing to give up 5 picks to get Deshaun Watson if Deshaun Watson just went to all the alleged victims, all 22, and settled all 22 civil cases. We'll trade for you if you go not 1, not 2.
Not 1. Not 3.
4, 5, 6, 7, 22 of them things. 22. All 22 of them. Not the film, all 22. Settle those and we'll give up. Miami is a bad run organization, right? It is not run very well. What are your just thoughts? Like, honestly, folks, I'm not going to dive into the game. It was terrible. Just erase it from your Ravens memory bank.
Please.
You still start Lamar Jackson next week. You start Marquise Brown. You start Mark Andrews. Just erase it from your memory bank. Myles Gaskin stinks. Jalen Waddle's dope, and we'll talk about him in a minute. But just your opinion on the entire Miami situation.
I think you're right, honestly. Tua was probably benched. But one thing that you didn't point out that I think is important to say is that last year we had the whole 2 OC scenario, right? And so we saw a lot of back and forth between Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua. And it seemed like the organization from the coaching staffs wanted to bench Tua, keep him on the bench, let him get healthy. But there was the pressure from ownership, Justin Herbert playing so well, Joe Burrow playing so well, pressure from like high-end ownership, whether it's the president, whether it's the owner himself, telling these coaches to put him in the game. And we've already seen reports of that before, that the owner's meddling in the quarterback situation. And so maybe it was the owner saying, I don't want to see Tua play. Tua's not playing well. He's not helping us win games. Leave Jacoby in, right? But then when push came to shove, Brian Flores had to make a call on the sidelines in the middle of a game. And that the owner can't control that. That's where Brian Flores has to make the call. And obviously he made the right one. Brian Flores, is he a good coach? Is he a bad coach? Last year he looked pretty good. This year he looks pretty bad. And it's kind of hard to give us a reason why. But for me, you're totally right. Tua is being mistreated to probably the worst I've seen in a long time. For a quarterback who went 4th overall, it's very rare you see him get so few opportunities, so little wiggle room. Like Zach Wilson's out here throwing picks every week. He's not getting benched. Trevor Lawrence is throwing picks every single week. He's not getting benched. Justin Fields isn't even playing very well. He's not getting benched. So why is it that Tua, who, drafted with the same capital as all these guys, same high touted prospect, doesn't get treated the same way? And we're not talking about a quarterback who's capable here. Jacoby Brissett, he had his moment in New England. He had his moment in Indianapolis, but he's not good. Like, he's not good at all. And the Ravens showed that again. Tua put up the same amount of passing yards. I think he actually put up more passing yards than Jacoby Brissett did in a quarter and a half?
Yeah.
I don't even think he played the whole second half. I'm pretty sure he only played somewhere around the mid-third quarter. So that tells you everything you need to know, man. Like, he hit Jalen Waddle on that sweet corner route that he threw.
Yeah.
And then he threw another nice passes, like the one to Albert Wilson, busted play. We're not going to get too crazy with that. Ravens allowed way too many big plays. The Miami Dolphins had 5 pass plays over 20 yards. So that tells you everything you need to know about what the Ravens did on defense. It's honestly, it's crazy to see the way that they're treating Tua because it's just not fair, man. He has to get out of there. Like, he can't resign there. He can't stay there. They just don't want him. And for better or worse, he has to find a way to get out of there. Like, there's just nothing more you can say about it. There's plenty of teams who would want him, plenty of teams who could use him, and he just has to get out because they just don't want him there. And they want Deshaun Watson. It's been very clear they've made that apparent from the very beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, they want Watson, man. They want Watson, and I think that's going to happen this offseason. To your point, I thought Tua did look well when he came in the game. I'm a Tua supporter. I don't think he's nearly as bad as people want you to believe he is. The unfortunate thing for Tua is he was drafted right before Justin Herbert. I mean, that's life, man. Sometimes those type of things happen, and he'll forever be viewed as, unless he can win a Super Bowl, unless he, goes nuts, he's always going to be viewed as the guy that got picked before. It's Sam Bowie, Michael Jordan, man. You know what I mean? It's Greg Oden, Kevin Durant. Like, think about that. Greg Oden was drafted 1, Kevin Durant was 2. Greg Oden had some flashes. Like, he had some flashes and some talent, but he couldn't stay healthy, right? It's almost.
How about James Wiseman, LaMelo Ball? How about we go back to your boy?
Anytime. When you're in those situations, man, that's hard to get right. But I think Greg Oden, Kevin Durant, like Justin Herbert could be like Kevin Durant of the NFL, like the best quarterback in the NFL, right? Oden had talent, but he couldn't stay healthy. Tua has talent, but he can't stay healthy. And he'll forever be linked to that guy. It was interesting, a quote from Marlon Humphrey after that game. He said Jalen Waddle's going to be top 10. That's what he said. I don't know about that.
High praise for Marlon Humphrey, man. Very high praise.
High praise.
Very high praise for Marlon Humphrey.
That's his Alabama alum as well. That's his Alabama brother. So, and Marlon Humphrey's been getting torched by everybody this year. Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase, Rashad Bateman in training camp. We saw those highlights. I mean, so at this point, whoever Marlon Humphrey faces is probably going to be top 10 in the NFL. Again, we did hit a couple of, on the FTN Fantasy Hour prop show, we talked about Jalen Waddle's over long reception of 20.5 yards. He did hit that. Lamar Jackson did go over his passing yard totals, didn't hit his rushing yard totals, and we didn't know who was playing quarterback, so it was pretty hard to bet that side. I think the biggest takeaway is, hell, even if you teased the game 6 points, you still lost with the Ravens. You know what I mean?
It was
so
just
unpredictable, so hard to really talk about. But I do want to, real quick before we pivot back to the NFL, Jay, I do want to talk about the North Carolina Pitt game from last night, in which we saw potentially the number one quarterback in the NFL draft, number one quarterback prospect in the NFL draft, duel it out against another guy who's competing for the same honors in Sam Howell. We got to see a little bit of Kenny Pickett, a little bit of Sam Howell, two quarterbacks that I like a lot in this 2022 NFL draft class. The game went to overtime. Pitt won 30-23. Sam Howell had 296 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 28 rushing yards on 17 carries. 76 of those yards came on a completely busted play. I thought Sam Howell outdueled. I thought Kenny Pickett outdueled Sam Howell, and honestly, it was a little more impressive in my opinion. Kenny Pickett, 25 for 43, 346, 3 touchdowns. He did have 1 interception. He was scrambling around for it to save his life. Negative 11 rushing yards. He was sacked a whole bunch. But there were multiple scouts and GMs in the building, and there was a report that came out. One of the beat reporters or reporters were in the booth with the NFL GMs, and all they were saying is Pickett's a first rounder. Kenny's a first rounder. Kenny's a first rounder. No doubt. I think, I'm telling you, man, I wouldn't be shocked at all if Kenny Pickett is the first quarterback off of the board. He's not my QB1. I still think Matt Corral's the best quarterback in the class, but it would not at all shock me if Kenny Pickett came off of the board first. Sam Howell, we're just not going to find any consensus with these quarterbacks. Like, I'm telling you, bro, like, it's almost, I'm already at that point where there's honestly no point in debating them, because I guarantee you line up 20 different people. Some people will have Howell at 1, and then the very next person have Howell at 6. Somebody have Corral at 1, and then Desmond Ridder at 2. Malik Willis at 1, Matt Corral at 4. It's just going to be a spaghetti bowl of rankings. So all I can do for those of you who participate in Dynasty Fantasy Football is you tap into the resources you trust, tap into the resources that you believe in, that have shown a history of success, bank on the quarterbacks that are going to go in the first round. I do think Kenny Pickett will be a first-round pick, and we'll see about Sam Howell. We'll see. I remember telling you, Jay, I think he's looked to me more like a second-rounder, but QB scarcity, we'll see how all of that plays out. But I thought it was a really, really good duel between those two. Kenny Pickett wins the matchup, and it's funny, in both head-to-head matchups, man, these quarterbacks that got the better end of it both went over 300 yards. Matt Corral, 324, Kenny Pickett, 346. I really like what Kenny Pickett's bringing to the table, man. It's legit. But let's go on and get back to OBJ. Odell Beckham Jr. signed with the Los Angeles Rams. 1-year deal. It was between the Rams and the Packers. Jay, what are your thoughts on OBJ signing with the Rams?
I think it has to be, you got to make them the favorites now. It's very difficult already to stop this offense. So what the hell are they going to do with Odell Beckham? It's going to be scary, Like there was some small reports that came out talking about how Odell didn't feel as welcomed by the Packers, which is interesting because you think, they should do anything they possibly can to keep Aaron Rodgers the way that Jordan Love looked last week. But they didn't really make a big push for OBJ. OBJ wanted to go there. We heard reports for days that it was his number one destination. And it was Sean McVay, who kind of came out of nowhere. Like, I didn't hear any reports from Sean McVay saying that they wanted to bring in OBJ. They got 3 capable weapons. They got a great running back. They obviously have a dope passing game. But out of nowhere, Sean McVay's like, come on, Odell. Vaughn's like, come on, Odell. Jalen's like, come on, Odell. Stafford's like, come on, Odell. Again, it's the family. It's Sean McVay calling him up and being like, hey, like, this is what we're going to do with you. This is how we're going to use you. We throw the ball 65% of the time. How's that sound? Right? And
how's that sound?
Right? So it's crazy, but it makes sense at the same time. I don't love it for fantasy, but for the team, and I said this to you pre-show, it reminds me of when the Bucs brought in Antonio Brown. They don't need Antonio Brown.
It's true.
Converting a 3-4 first downs a game, getting 60, 70 yards a game potentially, Odell can do that. And he can do that on an offense that's already so good. So I don't see a reason why it's a bad signing. They're all in. They've been all in for time. So why not keep going all in? Odell cost them nothing, basically. I think it's a great signing, but I don't necessarily think it moves the needle, but I would definitely say they're favorites now. Like, there's no way about it.
It moves the needle from an X's and O's standpoint from the teams that are facing the Rams. It 100% moves the needle. The weakest counterpoint that I've seen from people, they're like, well, Desean Jackson wasn't really involved. I don't see how Odell Beckham. They're two different players. They're two completely different players at two completely different stages of their career. Desean Jackson is 34 years old, and he does one thing and one thing only: scream down the field. And listen, when he ran down the field in L.A. and they threw it to him, he was catching bombs down the field. Desean Jackson ain't doing anything else besides running down the field past everybody versus one-on-one coverage or versus a safety. I think this is about as good a landing spot as Odell Beckham could have landed in. Green Bay would have been good. I would have liked Green Bay, but now he's in SoFi. He doesn't have to worry about playing outside in the cold. And it's funny, people are like, oh, that didn't really matter. Did you hear what Desean Jackson said when he was looking for a team? He was like,
oh, no.
In his press conference, he said, I didn't want to go anywhere cold. Like, I'm telling you, I don't give a shit if you played competitive football past your Pee Wee league. If you have to play outside in the cold, it's not fun. Like, once you get going, I mean, your body warms up and you're kind of into it, but it's not desirable, man. It is not. It is not something that you want to do. It's not something that you look forward to doing. Is going outside and playing in negative 20-degree weather. I don't even want to walk to my truck right now and it's 42 outside, let alone get blasted on an NFL field. So you have that. He's now playing with the best quarterback that he's ever played with. The best quarterback that he's ever played with, who wants to launch the ball down the field. The Rams, like you said, they throw the ball, 65% of the time? And Odell doesn't have – he's not the one. The alpha in that offense is Cooper Kupp and will remain Cooper Kupp. But OBJ can do things that Robert Woods can't. Robert Woods' game is predicated on short area targets, running after the catch, jet sweeps. They needed – and it was funny because I'm watching them last week. Van Jefferson, as well as he played, he also dropped a couple of passes too. And I'm just looking like, he is going to, everybody in my opinion takes a little step down. Everybody. Cooper Kupp comes down a little bit. Robert Woods, I believe, comes down a little bit more. Van Jefferson, Van Jefferson's a next year play. Like, maybe next year for Van Jefferson. But this is good for OBJ. If Odell Beckham can get 6 to 7 targets a game, I think he can do that. I think he can convert.
That's a lot.
I think he can get that. That's Sean McVay brought him in for a reason, man. Like, trust. Like, one thing I like about Sean McVay, he schemes his guys open. When he said Robert Woods is going to get involved, Robert Woods has had 22 targets in that game. 22 of them things. 50 of them. Odell Beckham's going to be utilized. I promise you. I will bet you money he is not going to be used as a decoy, and he will not be deployed like Desean Jackson. If you have Odell Beckham in fantasy, it just literally the things that you rub together like this, and what's that shit called? Not EKG.
A defibrillator?
Boy, he's back. He's back. Odell Beckham is back. He's not going to be the number one, but I think he's going to be real productive. The question is, does he play on Monday night? The Rams got a Monday night game. You think he plays on Monday?
I think he will, yeah. I don't think the Rams are going to keep him out, but maybe. You never know. Like, he's just a wide receiver. He doesn't have to play, 50%
they'll tell him to run 3 routes. Routes. Go in here, do this, go do that. I don't know if he's going to produce on Monday, but he's going to play. And I think the parallels to Antonio Brown coming into Tampa Bay is really good. Like, they didn't need him, but you don't need him until you need him. And I think it's also a good insurance policy if one of those wide receivers get hurt. If something happened to Cooper Kupp, or if something were to happen to Robert Woods, you couldn't just roll out Kupp and Van Jefferson. Now you've got another capable wide receiver. I think this is a great move for the Rams. And yes, they are 100% all in. They should be the front runners. Adding Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, Aaron, they're doing like New York Yankees type shit right now. They're come on in, all you old veterans, all you players that nobody wants, come on in. We'll make a run for the title. And it's a great opportunity for Odell Beckham Jr. to rehabilitate his career and try to go get a bag in the offseason. So, love it. We also saw Super Cam Newton has returned home. If I told you at the beginning of the season, Cam Newton and Adrian Peterson, Cam Newton would be starting, if I told you in the preseason, Cam Newton would be starting for the Carolina Panthers at some point this year, and Adrian Peterson would be starting for the Tennessee Titans, what would you bet me? Like, would you even believe that would be possible?
It would be like 20,000 to 1 at worst. Like, it could be, it doesn't make any sense, man. It just doesn't. Like, how does this happen? Only in the NFL could something like this happen. Only in the NFL.
I mean, he's back, baby. Superman returns home. I'm kind of pumped just to see him. My expectations for Cam Newton are low. I don't expect Cam Newton to do a ton, but this could be good for DJ Moore, and it could damn sure be good for Christian McCaffrey. Sam Darnold was atrocious, man. I mean, and I want you to lay out the Sam Darnold timeline, but there was a tweet yesterday, and I'm going to get it right because I want to give this person credit. Nick Katori, at Nick Korte. So just listen to this, right? Listen to this. The Panthers quarterback salary this season, they're paying $7 million of Teddy Bridgewater's salary still. 2021, 2022 dead money from signing bonus from Teddy Bridgewater, $10 million. Sam Bradford's 2021 salary, $4.7 million. And then, because they picked up his fifth-year option, his 2022 salary, $18.5 million, fully guaranteed. And then they signed Cam Newton to a $10 million deal. I think it was like $1.5 million roster bonus.
Guaranteed.
It's 4.5 guaranteed is what Cam is getting this year. So in total, Carolina is paying 3 quarterbacks a grand total of $44.9 million, which if you add all that up, it would be the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL, right behind annual salary, right behind Patrick Mahomes. Now, Dak is getting paid $75 million this year because of his signing bonuses, but that's what they're paying 3 quarterbacks. One of them is not on the roster. Another one has no choice but to be on the roster, but is terrible. And then they just signed Cam Newton to $44.9 million in quarterback salary for the Carolina Panthers this year. When you talk about fumbling the bag, hustling backwards, making egregious moves, which if you were to mismanage money to this degree at any sort of financial banking institution, you would no longer have a job. Matt Rule and whoever the GM is of the Carolina Panthers have absolutely decimated this situation, completely fumbled it, especially when they had an opportunity to draft Justin Fields or a guy that they coached at the Senior Bowl in Mac Jones. Did you see the tweet where I said if they just drafted Mac Jones, Brian Burns' ankle would be okay and DJ Moore would be leading the league in receptions and they wouldn't be paying $44 million to three damn quarterbacks? Jay, go. I know you have some notes in the show sheet about the Sam Darnold experience. Give the people a little taste of Carolina's mismanagement of funds and quarterback responsibilities.
All right, so let's start with March 24th, 2020. The Panthers cut Cam Newton, allow him to test free agency. Then follow that up the next day, March 25th. They signed Teddy Bridgewater to a 3-year, $63 million contract, $10 million guaranteed in 2020 and $7 million in 2021. Now they follow that up the next season. Teddy Bridgewater doesn't have a great year, and they trade for Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold gets traded for a 2021 sixth, a second-round pick and fourth-round pick in 2022. So now they got Sam Darnold, Teddy Bridgewater. Then a few days later, April 28th, they trade Teddy Bridgewater to Denver for a sixth-round pick and retain his $7 million salary that was on the books and the $10 million guaranteed.
Whoa.
So now, April 30th, 2021, the Panthers decide Sam Darnold's our guy. They exercise his option, $18.8 million.
Hold on. In April 30th, had they played any regular season games yet?
They traded Teddy Bridgewater, and 2 days later they said Sam Darnold's our guy.
Got it.
2 days of meetings, practices, whatever.
Yeah.
They said, hey, he's the guy. We got
meetings. Yes.
And then, it comes around. Sam Darnold's getting hurt. He's throwing picks. He's not looking good. Then he fractured his shoulder blade last week.
They found it. They found something.
November 10th,
they
2021.
Found something.
Cam Newton re-signs 1-year deal, $4.5 million guaranteed, $1.5 million roster bonus, up to $10 million total. So from March 24th, 2020, when Cam Newton was cut, to November 10th, 2021, Cam Newton just had to wait him out. He had to wait him out.
It's
crazy.
Had to wait him out.
It's like, how does this happen? How do you cut a guy and literally a year and a half later, you're bringing him back and you're paying him $10 million?
You're paying him more.
Bill Belichick, I think, gave him $1.5 million. I think that was all he got from Bill Belichick. This is just sad.
And not only are they paying him this much money, they're paying him this much money for 7 more games. Cam Newton, well done. Who's his agent? Drew Rosenhaus? Well done. Cam didn't have to get vaccinated. We really don't even he said he is. We don't know. Cam Newton chilled out for the first 10 weeks of the season, relaxed, worked out, fashionable, new hats, got to go on I Am Athlete. Misses the whole first half of the NFL season, comes back, and he gets $6 million to finish out the rest of the 7 games. This is, I honestly, Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers should be ashamed of themselves. They should be embarrassed. If you're a Carolina Panthers fan, you should be embarrassed by your team. Sam Darnold, they went and found an injury. What a colossal cluster, what. I want to say it, but Penelope watches the show, so I'm not going to do it. But they're paying 3 quarterbacks $44.9 million this year, and they're not going to win anything. Wow. This is...
Nothing else you can say.
I have nothing else to say besides well done, Cam Newton. This fantastic job by you getting another couple of $1 million to add to the bank to go out there and probably do much of nothing. But it'll be fun to see him play. And he's not even going to play this week. So he doesn't even play this week. He's not even playing this week. He's getting $6 million to play the final 6 games of the season. $1 million a game. $1 million a game for Cam Newton.
Now that's a salary right there.
Well
I'll take that.
Done, Cam Newton. All right, man. All right. We got games to get into. This weekend, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. The slate was looking a little rough, yesterday, but we found some games, and we're going to start with my boys, the Dallas Cowboys. So Dallas Cowboys versus the Atlanta Falcons. Dallas is favored by 9.5. Tell you right now, I don't like it. Randy Gregory was just placed on IR. Not good. It's just going to be the Micah Parsons show and Trayvon Diggs versus, I don't know who he's going to match up against, but I'm not feeling good about my Cowboys, Jay. I'll tell you that right now. Over under 54.5. Hey, you put on the show sheet, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. As George Bush said, you can't get fooled again. Dallas can't possibly lay another egg at home against the Falcons, and I don't think they will. I do think Dallas will win this game, but I don't think they win it by 10 points, all right? Even though Atlanta's allowing the 5th most points per game with 27.5, the offense should be able to move the ball in this Atlanta defense, but the issue for me is the Cowboys defense, right? No Randy Gregory, Micah Parsons, solo act. What are you just thinking? What are your overall thoughts on this game? Defensive Rookie of the Year still looking like Parsons. Evan just asked in the chat, 100%. I mean,
heavy favorite.
Yeah,
I think he's like minus 300.
Yeah,
or something
he's going to win defense. There's chatter that not only is he in the Defensive Rookie of the Year category, he's in the NFL Defensive Player of the Year category. He's not going to win it. You've got T.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, Myles Garrett. Those are probably your 3 favorites to win NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Trayvon Diggs, I think his odds have fallen quite a bit, but I know Micah Parsons is in the category for Defensive Player of the Year. He's going to be a Pro Bowler as a rookie. So, I mean, it's locked and loaded. Micah Parsons is going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. But what are your thoughts, Jay, on this matchup? Just the overall game. We'll talk about some of the props in a second, but Dallas, 9.5. Would you feel comfortable with that at all? Because I don't.
Yeah, I do. I do. I'm not scared of your Cowboys. Like I said,
after week one, you've been a Cowboys fan. After week one, after you said they didn't play good, now you think they're the best damn thing smoking.
Now they're playing a lot better. I think they're a more balanced attack. So the biggest thing for me, right, is they haven't got the running game going. But this week, they should have no problem doing that. And so that's why I'm more confident. When they've looked their best, they've had a balanced attack. They've been running the ball with Zeke, running with Pollard, and they've been playing really well, having a great balanced offense. And I think they'll be able to get back to that this week. That's why I think they're going to cover. That's why they're going to put up a ton of points. Before last week, they were averaging like 34 points a game at home. So to me, it's like Atlanta already allows 27.5 a game. Before last week, the Cowboys were scoring 30 points a game at home, 34 points a game at home. So if they're going to be able to run the ball, we know they'll be able to pass the ball. Hopefully Dak got that, whatever rust you want to call it, out of the way against Denver. Right. This defense is way worse than that Denver defense. As much as we don't like Denver from a team perspective, mostly because of the offense, the defense is pretty damn good. Like, Patrick Surtain is legit. They lost Von Miller, but clearly they don't need him that badly.
I think Pat's hurt.
Is he hurt?
I think he's hurt. No. I know he got hurt. He got hurt in the Dallas game. He got hurt.
Damn.
He left the game, man. So, but go ahead. That's irrelevant, but he got hurt.
Yeah. The biggest thing for me is Atlanta's defense is just terrible. And so I think that Zeke's going to have a big game. I think Pollard's going to have a big game.
We don't know if Zeke, here's the thing. We don't know if Zeke's playing. Zeke had a knee contusion last week. I don't know if Tyron Smith is playing. No DeMarcus Lawrence. No Randy Gregory. Probably no Tyron Smith. This just 10 points is a lot. In Atlanta, as bad as you're saying their defense is, offensively, Matt Ryan is playing really good football. Like, they're playing good football in Atlanta, much better than we thought. I'm not saying that they're playing like some playoff caliber team, but they're not laying eggs like they did versus Tampa Bay and versus Philadelphia. There's a lot of things not working in Dallas's favor right now. I'll just say that.
Yeah, no, I feel that for sure. But I don't know, man. I think that Dallas is going to be hungry for this game. To your point that maybe they don't have all their weapons right now. Maybe they don't have everyone at their disposal. I think they're still going to play up to this game. I think they have enough guys to match up well with the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons have very few pieces. But if you match up well with them, they're not going to be able to do anything. And Matt Ryan's been allowing a ton of pressure. The Atlanta Falcons have been allowing tons of pressure. They're number 2 in the league in QB hurry percentage. So regardless of how that pass rush actually stacks up, Micah Parsons is going to make Matt Ryan stay hell.
He's going to be good. Micah Parsons is going to have to do a lot. Dak, 301 passing yards, over under. You like it? I don't. I'd take the under.
Yeah, I'd probably take the under on that.
I
think they're going to have to run the ball a lot.
I would take the under. I still don't know if he's 100%, but I would take the under on his passing yards. 2.5 touchdowns. I think that's placed pretty accurately. I think 3, but I probably wouldn't touch it, to be honest with you. CeeDee Lamb, 71.5 receiving yards.
I kind of like it.
I
kind of like it.
I don't hate
I think
it.
CD could be the guy this game.
Yeah,
You know?
I don't hate it. But you see how the hesitation? Like, you're saying Dallas is going to cover, but then you don't think Dak's going to throw for a lot of yards. You're not really confident he's going over 2.5 touchdowns. We don't really know what's happening with Zeke, and there wasn't a rushing line out on Zeke, was there?
No line for Zeke or Pollard right now.
Because they don't know if he's going to play.
Do we care who runs the ball? I think that to me is like,
yes,
really,
yes.
Oh, I think Pollard will be almost as effective as Zeke will.
Pollard is good, Pollard is good in tandem, and Pollard is good in spot starts, but he's not Zeke, man. He's not.
No, for sure. But so question for you now: if Zeke was out, would you like Dak over 300, assuming they use Pollard less in the running game?
No.
Okay.
I don't want Dak over 300. He can do it. I'm not doing it. I'm not touching it. I just need to see something. They goose egg, man. That game was 30-0 last week. Again, I know that the final score was 30-16, but that game was 30-0. Malik Turner caught a couple of touchdown passes at the end when Denver completely let up, and we're just getting out of here. I'd rather target Atlanta.
We never talked about that. That was really odd. Did you find that odd at all?
What?
All the starters were out for Dallas, except for Dak and the backups.
Yeah, they were.
Why is Dak throwing the backups at the end of the game that's 30-0? I didn't really understand that at all.
I didn't understand it either. I mean, part of me was like, okay, get him reps, but then you took out all his guys and leave him out there. It's Mike McCarthy, man. And right now, as well as things were going, it's a lot of things. And the stat that I saw yesterday, Dallas will play 4 games in 18 days starting on Sunday. 4 games in 18 days starting on Sunday. They play on Sunday, and then they get the Thanksgiving game, and then there's like they got 4 games in 18 days. That's insane. Wow. That's insane, man. And we're already getting banged up. I'd rather target some of the Atlanta Falcons, like Matt Ryan over 288.5. I like the over on that. Mike Davis, 34.5 rushing yards. I'd probably take the under. I'm not feeling him. Kyle Pitts over under 68.5. I kind of like it. I don't think Dallas has anybody that can match up with him. Parsons is not good in coverage.
But Bryant is making a big point here. We've seen corners cover Kyle Pitts and not out of necessity, just because it's easier. Why would you put a linebacker on him? They don't have any receivers of consequence. You know, you could have Micah Parsons match up with Cordero Patterson out of the backfield and in the slot. He's fast enough to cover him, and obviously you can tackle him. You throw Diggs on Pitts, then you just got to have someone cover Gage, and that's the whole offense right there. You don't have to worry about anybody else.
Yeah, well, you got Cordero Patterson still. Like that's
Parsons can still cover him if you want to.
No. That is not Micah's game. Micah wasn't good at it at Penn State. He ain't good at it in the NFL. You don't want him covering anybody. That's not his game. He is a heat-seeking missile. Blitz him, rush him. Dropping him in coverage or ISOing him on a receiver will end in disaster. You don't want that. Cordero Patterson on Micah Parsons would be a bloodbath. That would not be good. I don't know, man. I don't know what Dallas is going to do. I probably would not put Diggs on Pitts. I probably wouldn't do that. I'd be like, you got to – I don't know what the hell they're going to do.
But then you just play what? You play mostly zone, you play sides with man, or –
That's why I like Matt Ryan, man. Dallas they're down. They're hurting. I like Matt Ryan to put up points versus Dallas. Just my thoughts. I know a lot of people out there hate Cowboys fans, but I'm honestly probably most objective. I have a lot of fun with my team, but this one scares the hell out of me. This feels trappy. This feels trappy for Dallas, and they need to get their shit together. I'll just say that. All right, let's talk about this matchup, the Washington football team versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay coming off of a bye. Tom Brady is back. We don't know if Chris Godwin is going to play. He hasn't been practicing. Antonio Brown, Mr. Potato Gang himself, will not play. He's still weeks away from playing. You know, all I thought about yesterday, so did you see the Bruce Arians presser where he was like, we already have one AB, we don't need an OBJ, too many letters or something? I feel like as soon as Sean McVay saw that, he was like, shit, if you don't want him, we'll take him. You know what I mean? Like, McVay, I love the all-in style. But Tampa Bay favored by 9.5. probably down their best two two of their best receiving weapons in AB and Godwin. Gronk not going to play. I mean, Tampa Bay wins this game, but do they cover is the question. Do they win by 10? And, the football team, they're allowing the fourth most points per game in the NFL. They allow the most passing yards per game versus the opposing opponents. And you're getting Tom Brady off of a bye. Tampa Bay has the second best run defense, so I'm not feeling Antonio Gibson. Nothing official for props on either side yet. And I think a big part of that is Chris Godwin. It's Rob Gronkowski. It's Antonio. Like, they just don't know who's playing. How do you think this game plays out? Does Tampa Bay cover 9.5?
I think they can. Yeah, I'm not really too concerned with who's out there. We've seen Tyler Johnson come in and be capable.
Optimistic better, man.
I think they're gonna cover, man. Like, the Washington football team is terrible. That Tampa Bay Bucs defense is getting healthier coming off the bye. They have a few offensive weapons that aren't going to be there, but why can't Mike Evans go off for 250 yards against this Washington football team defense? I'm not trying to go too crazy now, but he's probably going to hit his over. He's probably going to score 2 touchdowns, right? Like,
I like Mike Evans for 2 TDs. I like that. And I don't even know what kind of juice you get on that, but I like that.
You could go for 3 even if you want to, because we've seen him do it before. And with no Chris Godwin, and if AB doesn't play as well,
AB ain't playing.
Probably some good juice, right?
Yeah.
Then you say no Gronk, so another red zone weapon not there. The only other guy really to catch passes is Gio Bernard and maybe some Leonard Fournette.
Tyler Johnson,
run the ball a decent amount. Tyler Johnson, right? He's going to be heavily involved.
Anytime
maybe
TD.
We see some Jalen Darden.
Anytime TD.
But Tom Brady's going to deliver the ball no matter who's playing. I'm not worried about that, right?
Yeah.
And he's shown that he's liked to throw to Tyler Johnson before. When AB hasn't been playing, Tyler Johnson gets a lot more snaps. He's running more routes. And second year in the offense, Tom Brady knows how to get him the ball. They have that chemistry now. I'm not as worried about the Tampa Bay pass offense as some people may be with Chris Godwin and AB out.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it either. I mean, it just sucks that Godwin's not playing, but Tom Brady's going to throw to whoever's open, and I do think this bodes well for Mike Evans. Jalen Darden, sneaky. Tyler Johnson, sneaky as well. Maybe anytime touchdown scorers, those 2 guys. What we do know is the Washington football team defense is bad, and Tom Brady is objectively good. And Tom Brady will find whoever is open and make that happen. So I kind of like, and again, no official props out yet. I don't know if Prize Picks has anything out on those players, but I do think Tampa Bay wins this game. They should cover. I feel better about Tampa Bay. Here's my thing. I feel better about Tampa Bay minus 9.5 than I do Dallas 9.5. I really do. I trust Tom Brady, that offense, and that defensive front. And what's interesting, I wonder if they're getting any of their secondary help back. Sean Murphy-Bunting or Carlton Davis. I don't know. Doesn't really affect what I would do with this game. I'm just wondering, is Tampa Bay starting to get healthy? And how do they counter what the Rams are doing? Those are the top 2 teams in the NFC, in my opinion, right now, are the Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I do like Tom Brady in this matchup. Now, we also have the Justin Herbert versus Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen, Chargers, Vikings. Vikings trying to right the ship, trying to get things on track, and the Chargers are pushing for a playoff spot in a very wide open AFC West. The Chargers are favored by -3 over under 53.5. The Chargers are still the runaway favorites for the worst rushing defense in all of football. So this could be a big game for one Dalvin Cook. They are averaging 162 yards on the ground given up. And the Vikings are also pretty damn bad against the run as well. 2 bad run defenses, right? And you've got 2 really good running backs. Dalvin Cook, one of the best running backs in the NFL, as well as Austin Eckler, one of the best dual threat running backs in the NFL. The Chargers, they do not allow a lot through the air. All right, the 3rd best pass defense, allowing less than 200 yards per game. Yay. That does not bode well for one Kirk Cousins, but somebody's got to catch the ball. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. How do you think this game plays out? You like the Chargers -3. Do you think the Vikings have an upset in them somewhere? What are your thoughts on this one, Jay?
So I think I'm going under in this game. We talked a lot about how the Chargers just play into a lot of unders. They play great defense. The Vikings have been pretty bad lately. I talked last week about how the Vikings on the road do score 30 points a game, and they put up 30 last week. I just don't really see that happening this week against the Chargers. I think that's what's going to be the ultimate backbreaker. Now, that being said, I don't know what to do with the receivers for the Vikings. Let's start with the Chargers. Justin Herbert over 293 passing yards, 2.5 touchdowns. I'm kind of iffy on it. I think he'll probably be under, but the Vikings do allow a lot. Like, they just allow a lot of yards.
I like the over.
Really?
Man. Yeah,
Okay.
I like the over on Justin Herbert. But go ahead.
So again, 293 passing yards. You like the over. I'm kind of on the fence about it. 2.5 touchdowns, though, I do like that. I think that Herbert can do that pretty easily. That's plus 180 if you want some juice there.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's quite a bit of juice to get him to get to 3. But in the same breath, I do like Austin Eckler over 16.5 rushing yards. Like we talked about, the Minnesota Vikings aren't great against the run either. I know that Eckler's not going to get a lot of carries, but I think the Chargers will be able to open up holes, use him in effective ways. He's also projected for 14.5 carries. So, we usually project him around 12 carries. If you get him all the way to 15, getting to 60 is 4 yards a carry. So that's not so bad for Austin Eckler. He can do that in spades. I think he usually averages somewhere around 4.5 to 5 yards a carry, depending on the game, of course. So that's where I'm kind of leading. Keenan Allen, 77.5 receiving yards. I like the over there because I'm still fading Mike Williams. He's not healthy. He's not getting the ball. Whatever it is, Keenan Allen was the guy, 120 yards last week. I believe he had 10 receptions and 12 targets. Yeah. So I'm all in on Keenan Allen again. But then you go to the Minnesota side, 274.5 pass yards for Kirk Cousins. I kind of like it, but in the same breath, it's like the Chargers don't allow a lot. So why would I go that route?
I don't like it.
Then you look at Dalvin Cook playing against the worst run defense in the league, 90.5 rushing yards. I like the over there. He'll go over 100. Then do we like Jefferson or Thielen to go over, or do we like them both to go under?
I don't like them both.
75.5 for receiving yards for Justin Jefferson. 63.5 for Thielen. I'm leaning Jefferson because I'm putting on my tinfoil hat and he's playing indoors. So I know he's good to go for a buck for sure, and probably a touchdown too. I think Justin Jefferson's going to have a big game. I think Thielen's going to be the guy who gets bogged down a little bit more.
I think we're spot on with this. I like Dalvin Cook over rushing yards. I like Justin Jefferson's receiving yards. I would take the under on Adam Thielen, but maybe anytime TD. Thielen always finds a way to get in the end zone. I don't like Kirk Cousins' passing number. I mean, it's 20 yards fewer than Justin Herbert. I don't – listen, the Chargers' secondary is legit. I don't like it. Kirk Cousins had, 190-something last week. I probably would stay away from it. I think that the formula to beat the Chargers for the Vikings, who are desperate for a win, is to lean on one of the best running backs in the NFL versus one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL. Lean on Dalvin Cook, let Dalvin do his thing, and when he throws the ball, throw to Justin Jefferson and let Jefferson do his thing. But I don't think this is going to be some shootout between Cousins and Herbert. I really like the over on Justin Herbert. I like Austin Eckler. My opinion, I think I like his receiving yard total a little bit more. I know he hasn't it's been hit or miss with Austin Eckler, but 37.5 receiving yards, I'm kind of feeling that a little bit. And to your point, the under on Mike Williams and the over on Keenan Allen. I don't think Mike is 100% right either. And Keenan Allen is really showing that he can dominate. Like, he's still that dude. As much as people try to say, are we seeing a shift in Los Angeles? Is there a shift with the wide receiver ones? It's like Mike Williams is back to being Mike Williams, man. Just big boom bust guy. He just never can stay healthy, man. He just can't stay healthy. He's always banged up. Always, since his time at Clemson, he's always banged up. So, that's what I have in this one. Anything else from this matchup, Jay?
The only thing to mention, to your point about Kirk Cousins, he's been under 190 the past 2 weeks. So it's, that's significantly under this number that he has at 274?
Yeah, I'm not touching the over on Kirk Cousins. I can't do it, man. Can't do it. I guess the marquee matchup, maybe.
Sunday Night Football. In Las Vegas.
In Vegas, the Raiders and the Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored by 2.5 on the road versus the Raiders with an over-under of 52 points. We got Mahomes versus Carr. Is Clyde Edwards-Helaire back in this one? I saw he was practicing.
So he returned to practice yesterday. Eric Bieniemy said he looked pretty good. He's designated to return, but I don't think he's going to play. He just started practicing after the MCL sprain. He's been out 3 weeks. So the Chiefs have 21 days to activate him. Hasn't been ruled out yet, of course, but I highly suspect that he's going to be missing this week, but maybe back next week, back to practice yesterday.
All right. Well, listen, when the Chiefs actually do run the ball, they're pretty effective, right? They're first in the NFL with 2.36 yards before contact per attempt running the ball. And that's with Clyde, that's with Darrell, that's with Derek Gore, that's with whomever they have in the backfield. And the Raiders are fifth worst in the NFL against the run, allowing 133 yards per game. It would be nice to see Clyde back, but to your point, if he just started practicing, MCL sprain, and I think this is the same thing he had last year towards the end of the season. So
It is, yeah. Same injury.
Is it the same knee? Do we know if it's the same knee?
I don't know if it's the same knee, but it's definitely the same injury.
Yeah, that's not good. Patrick Mahomes, look at that. Finally, his passing yard prop has come back down to earth. It's been like over 300 yards the past like 4 games. His over-under is 287.5 passing yards, 2.5 touchdowns, plus 300 for an anytime TD. I'll just say here's what concerns me with Kansas City is their offensive line isn't playing really good, and Max Crosby is really, really good, and I think he's going to raise hell in the backfield for Kansas City. Now, the Raiders' defense is not good at all. They just released Damon Arnett after his profanity-laden threats, fake tough guy video on Twitter about shooting and killing people, but he got released. Jonathan Abrams, I don't know if he's playing or not, but he ain't covering anybody. He wouldn't cover you in the bed if you were cold sleeping. Like he's not good. He's a hitting safety. He's not a coverage safety. The Raiders pass defense is not good, but their run defense is really good. I don't know what happens. I don't know. Run defense is bad and pass defense is bad. I don't know what to do in this one because it's one of those games where Kansas City should beat them, but should they? I mean, at this point, how Kansas City is playing, I don't know how we can have a ton of confidence in anybody in this matchup. Kelsey and Hill, their receiving props are identical. Literally, it's like a pick 'em. Which one do you think is going to get there? Hill, 73.5 receiving yards. Kelsey, 75.5. Both of them at 6.5 receptions. If I were going to do anything, Jay, Tyreek Hill has been a target magnet.
Yep.
With teams taking away the deep throws, I like his over on receptions a little more than Kelsey. And if he's going to get 8-9 receptions, then he should hit 73 yards, right? So if I were going to do anything in this matchup, it would be Tyreek Hill's overs. I like Hunter Renfrow, 57.5 receiving yards. Josh Jacobs not touching it. Derek Carr, 290 passing yards. I don't know, man. I honestly don't know what to do with this game because I don't know who Kansas City is. I don't know what this new look Las Vegas Raiders team is. Let's not forget, it's still a new interim head coach trying to figure out his way. I don't know, man. I have no clue, like literally no clue how this game is going to play out. At least, even though we were dead-ass wrong last night, at least we had a theory of how the Ravens game could play out. Like, we felt confident that they'd control the ball, Lamar would do what they want. It didn't come to fruition, but at least we had a story to tell. This is like a choose-your-own-adventure, and I don't know which way to go. I have no clue. Remember those books? I used to love those books, man. The Goosebumps, Choose-Your-Own-Adventure. Man, just simpler times. Go ahead.
So to your point about the Raiders defense, they actually haven't been as bad through the air as I thought. They give up a lot of kind of like big plays or seemingly big plays, but it's more so just really bad coverage because they're only allowing 207 yards per game, which is actually 5th in the NFL through the air. So I'm not really sure how that's going to work though, because you don't view them as a good cover team or not allowing a lot of yards, but they do allow a lot of points. So that's kind of, where I see it going. But I think you talk about Patrick Mahomes, the over on the yards, I just can't do that. I'm probably going to take the under. If you want to go over 2.5 touchdowns, that's fine. It's plus 180 like it was with Herbert, so at least you get some juice there. Tyreek Hill, man, I think
I like Tyreek,
receptions. Man. I don't really love it for the yards, 73.5, but I like it for the receptions. The one guy I do want to go after, though, is Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is only 57.5 rushing yards, and the Kansas City Chiefs they're not very good against the run. They allow 121 yards per game, which isn't terrible based on the rest of the league, but it's not great. And so for me, it's that. And then I like Renfrow too. I'm hoping he can get some matchups with Sorensen and he can take advantage of that because we know that the way to beat the Kansas City Chiefs is to go after Daniel Sorensen all day, every day. We see it every week. And so that's just how you beat them. You got to beat them in the seams. You got to beat them, on the out routes. But I'm with you, although I am tempted to take the Raiders to cover because if there's one thing we know with absolute certainty, The Kansas City Chiefs never cover.
They never
They are
cover.
one of the worst teams since like 2020.
Yeah, they never cover, man.
The only team worse than them is the Jets as far as making
Makes
money
sense.
on the spread. The Kansas City Chiefs are terrible when it comes to covering. So favored on the road, I just don't like it. I'd rather take the Raiders and the points, see what happens.
Stone asked me what are my favorite quarterback rushing props this week. What's crazy is a lot of props are not out. Like, a lot of them aren't out. Right now, some things that I do like: Jalen Hurts over 49.5 rushing yards. Patrick Mahomes under 23.5 rushing yards. I like Justin Herbert over 10.5 rushing yards. And right now, I would probably take Mike White under 2.5 rushing yards versus the Bills. And I do like Josh Allen over 31.5. Zach Moss, we don't know if he's back. I know he practiced yesterday, concussion protocol, but it's really Josh Allen and Devin Singletary. And Josh Allen, I mean, he's been automatic with rushing props, like automatic. 32 rushing yards for Josh Allen versus the Jets. Sign me up on that one. The Bills need a win. Coming off of that bad loss last week versus Jacksonville, they need to win this game, and I think it's all going to fall in the arms and legs of Josh Allen. So right now, based on the lines that are out, I'm not touching Tannehill right now versus New Orleans. 16.5. If I had to do anything, it'd be the under on Ryan Tannehill rushing yards. But I like Josh Allen's over. I like Patrick Mahomes under, Jalen Hurts over. And I want to see where Tom Brady's rushing stats, rushing prop opens up at. Probably half a yard or 1.5 yards for Tom Brady, which I always say, I don't touch it. I don't fool with it with Tom Brady because he always finds a way to scramble and pick up 3 yards and then just screws you over. So, this weekend is going to be interesting, Jay. It's going to be interesting. A lot of the matchups are kind of like, I'm excited for the Monday night game, Rams versus 49ers. I know we didn't really talk about that, but we'll preview that on Monday. And I think we'll have a little more clarity on if Odell Beckham Jr. will be playing in that matchup. Hopefully he's in L.A., getting ready to practice. He looks so happy. He's there with his boy LeBron James. OBJ's back in the spotlight, man. He goes from New York to Cleveland to L.A. So just excited to see that situation play out. But, Jay, good week, man. We made it. It's Friday, bro.
Yes, sir.
We don't have to do this again until Monday. We get a couple of days off, man. I appreciate everybody in the comments, everybody who taps into the show, whether you're listening via the podcast or you watch this back on YouTube or on Twitter. We thank you for the support. If you do subscribe to the podcast, rate and review, subscribe to the Bets TV YouTube channel, and make sure you subscribe to our podcast, Wake Up with Ray G. Y'all have a beautiful, wonderful, fabulous weekend. Make it great. Let's finish off the week strong. Let's make some money, and I'll see y'all bright and early on Monday. We out. Peace.